spaceships.
It rhymes, it's like poetry. It's not about spaceships. Watch out for the Making Star Wars show.
It's not about spaceships.
We should have been Germans. I don't know why I did that one. I like the German one better.
A little bit more fun than Weezer, but it's pretty good Weezer. As far as Weezers go, man, you did a good job. Sound alike.
Thank you. Yeah. So today we have some Indiana Jones stuff to talk about, and Jedi Indy animation. It says, "Yeah, man, that Juicy 5 Indy news." I don't know if he speaks that way, but that's how I assume he speaks.
Mutt on the run.
Yeah, Mutt's back. And all your Mutt Jones news. Remember when for like a few days it seemed like Mutt might be back as a new, more handsome, stout actor, and
I just knew when we were talking about it. Man's goes like, these fucking idiots. Like it's always in the back of my head. Like, oh, look at them overthinking. Overthinking.
I don't know about him, but your like Lucasfilm snob types, they love it. They sit there like in the ivory tower going, fans so dumb. I used to get DMs from some of them, so I know how they think on those ones. And you're like, it's a two-way street is what it comes down to. It's like you're not saying anything and we're enthusiastic, so you do end up there. But also
it's not like we don't have an issue of Star Wars or Lucasfilm Insider or Star Wars Insider to get the skinny on what's going on with the story. They don't do anything on that Star Wars show, man. Like I turned it on the other day. I'm like, let me go see what I'm missing. Buckeye mother. I feel like I'm at the Disney store,
Yeah.
Like what is that? I don't understand the point.
Yeah, I don't know. I all of it is just very strange and not for me. And I honestly don't know who it's for. But it is what it is, I don't know, man. Like it's a missed opportunity, but I guess at the same time, you probably are trying to produce that show and you have your hands tied because what you can't talk about and plans not coming through on time. And then at the end of the day, you're like, oh, let's talk about the new tic-tac-toe book coming out based off of Chewbacca's family or something like that.
Yeah, it was like that. I was like, what? Like they're shocked by their own merch. You know what I mean? Like when you get the Kevin Secret Stash book, right? To bring up yesterday's show. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wow, I didn't think it'd have this in here or read like this. Imagine if the publishers were trying to act surprised about their own book. Wow, I didn't know we made such a cool fucking thing. Like, yeah, you did. You sure did. Like,
when the hell did we put porgs in this?
Oh my god, what are these? These are my favorite thing. What are you supposed to say? Like, I don't know about them porgs on the Star Wars show. That's why I wish it was just more like, look, just give us the inside interview with somebody. Like, fucking go get the script girl or the goddamn grip boy off The Force Awakens and interview. Wait, what's it like to deal with that job? Like anything beyond just acting surprised about new merch. Because it really just feels like QVC for Star Wars at some point. Like,
a little bit, yeah. I think it's inherently flawed in the sense that it has to feign enthusiasm by adult professionals who really are probably excited about it, but the enthusiasm that they must express is not natural. Like me, like that's why I've joked and made joke reaction videos. Like if you go see a Star Wars movie with me, I could have the best time I have ever had in my whole life. And you know what it looks like?
Same. You and I, we get this is something we're in sync on. I'm like, when they say the Japanese audiences don't react in theater.
Yeah.
Right? To the very end and then they'll clap or something like that. I'm like that without the clap and I just go, or I'll run out and buy another ticket.
I'm like this.
That's that whole thing where you just can't be too supportive of a system, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Like I feel that way too. Like if I'm too much of a fan over this, one, it'll come to bite me back in the ass someday. Like I remember when I was so into Lucasfilm, they can do no wrong. You know,
Yeah.
oh, Lucas is the greatest. That nothing could ever be. And then I'm sitting in the theaters going like, why is he riding a giant flea? Why is he riding a giant flea? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like when it was George Lucas, like we know that man from a distance. Like we know a version of George. And that's the only version we're ever gonna know. I like it. And he makes things that I like. And he's batshit crazy creatively with what he does and his choices. And I always respect it. So it's like when you show me something and I don't get it, I'm willing to go like, okay, where are we going, George? Like what is it? You know what I mean? Okay, and if this isn't working, how are you gonna make it work eventually? And like usually we come out to being somewhat on the same page of me going, cool, I like what you did there. But now that we're past that, it's a lot different. It's a little bit it's the cynicism is not unlike the cynicism I have when a fucking Transformers thing is coming out or something that I kind of care about but don't really care about. You're like, oh, this is probably going to be dog shit. Like I got burned by this movie called Batman and Robin, not like this guy. And like ever since then, I just been like, no, I don't trust you. I don't trust you, Hollywood. But what I'm trying to say is, yeah, is they pretty much they
come on. If I can come back around to Star Wars after the way I felt after the prequels, certainly you can come back around to Batman. Come on.
No,
they made some pretty good Batman movies since Batman and Robin.
No, it's true. And like Batman is it, and I admit it's me. Batman has a very hard time making a right Batman for me. You know what I mean? Like that's like kind of where I'm at with it. I'm very particular about what I want from it. What I got from it in '89 and the comics from the mid '80s when I was like a 7-year-old, you know, that works for me. Like that's like that weird dynamic, that weird, not too serious, but he is a detective, and you know. And anyways,
when they're not trying to win an Oscar,
yeah,
that is a problem. Like I love Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and I'm okay on Rises. The soundtrack, the score to Dark Knight Rises is a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. If you ever just listen to it on its own, yeah, it's the best. I mean, that's Hans Zimmer doing Vangelis, like, but through a comic book movie. It's amazing. However, this push to get an Oscar on every Batman movie is, I think it's hurt Batman in the same way that taking Star Wars too serious, right, has hurt Star Wars in terms of it stagnated what it's doing. Now it's just, oh, look, Batman's parents died, and the villains will either get more violent or Batman will get more violent. Which one is it?
Yeah, it became very philosophical at times with Batman about vigilante justice and stuff like that. And you wear the mask, now they're wearing the mask. It's all escalating. And it's like, and I think
actually came from a Marshall Rogers comic that the original '89 Batman was based off of.
And so I think it connected because of the War on Terror.
Because there was originally a scene supposed to be in Batman '89 that dealt with people dressing up like Batmans and running around, but they just didn't use it. Right. So that's like what's funny is like, oh, they came back around to that.
Yeah.
20-something years later.
And those are all fascinating things to explore. I don't need it. Like Batman Begins is a fine movie for what it is. For a movie, it's a fine movie. It's cool. For a Batman movie, it's boring as shit because he's not Batman. I don't go watch Batman movies to watch Bruce Wayne fucking go to college, go to Bat College. That's boring to me for the most part. You know, I mean, it doesn't. And
says I get the guy who sat through 9 Harry Potter films.
I did.
Doesn't become a wizard at the end, just gets old.
By the end of it, it was a bunch of 27-year-olds women dressing up in schoolgirl outfits. I was like, I could do this all day. Let's make some more. The very last
scene, he just has George Costanza hair. He never actually becomes the wizard. He just George Costanza hair.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. No. And I like those, but I don't think I love Harry Potter. You know what I mean? I think I enjoyed it. Yeah, I think I enjoyed it going, just seeing something, but I don't think I love it.
There's a world in which there's a multiverse in which Harry Potter was released as a as a stop motion series like Coraline and Rob would be on board. That's how I've always wanted Hellboy, like that Leica stop motion puppetry stuff. Like, I don't like Men in Black dude in a makeup Hellboy. Like, I'm very particular about my Hellboy. I'm like, I don't care how good Ron Perlman is. I can't deal with the fucking face makeup. I
Yeah.
want Hellboy to be like creatures and I want slow moving, slow paced. Like the Green Knight's more of the flavor of Hellboy than the Hellboy movies are just Men in Black films to me. So
Yeah, I don't really remember much about the Hellboy movies. I just remember I hadn't seen them, and then somebody was like, "You got to watch them," and I was on the Devil's Grass, and I just look up at one point, and Hellboy's in the shower crying, and I'm like, "What the fuck am I watching right now?" And I was just out.
Not in the comics. I don't
Yeah,
know,
I was just out. It
know.
wasn't after that. I was done. But
well, to one more thing before we get back to Star Wars, with Batman. You mentioned a friend of yours might come on to talk about Batman at some point.
I hope so, yeah.
Are you excited to talk about Keaton coming back? Is that something that
yeah,
you get ramped up about to see that version of Batman?
Hey Thrawn, if you're not on, do you want to come on? Let me know and I will send you the link. And Jedi Indiana Mention says, I make stop motion Lego videos while listening to you guys. Oh, that's rad.
Excellent.
Yeah. Send us the links to them when you put them up. What do you call it? I am as excited about Keaton coming back probably as I am about Han Solo coming back. Like really. But my only fear about it is that it's going to be my Batman going into a movie I don't care about, or because honestly, the new DC movies, they do not work for me. I own most of them. Like, I'm like, why don't I like these?
Why do you own them if you don't like them?
UHG sells, and I'm a big fan of 4K video. And I go, man, that does sound pretty cool. You know, it's like they had like Batman versus Superman, like every version, $9.99. I was like, okay. So then I get it, you know, and then I'm watching them just like, I saw that one in the theater, and I was kind of like, some of this.
The opening is fantastic.
It has. I own it, and I don't remember. The
opening sequence where it's Bruce Wayne on the ground while Metropolis is being destroyed during Man of Steel is a fantastic opening, a wonderful setup. Problem is like he should have been no more Batman for like 20 years, like in The Dark Knight Returns, or 10 years. Like it's just weird. It's like he's still Batman at the time, but now he's just more angry. Like it's just fucking weird. Like I thought when Zack Snyder went to Comic-Con, he had the guy who played the General read the lines from The Dark Knight Returns. You know, I beat you, Clark. I want you to know that it was me who beat you. He read that and then showed Superman Batman. We thought we were going to get some adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns, like in the way Civil War was sort of an adaptation.
Right.
And it really isn't, other than they fight and he wears the Miller armor. Like, I'm like, I thought, that's when I was like, oh, I hope they announce Keaton coming back, because how great would that be if they were just like, this takes place in the Burton universe, you know?
Yeah.
And then you got this guy who's long since retired, you know what I mean? And was like, shit, you know, and like has to build all this tech because he can't, you know, he's not even Batman. Even if he wanted to take that on, he couldn't. But it's again, that just feels like a bunch of premises that were, no studio wanted to like sign, like the studio didn't want to sign on to an old Batman or a Batman who was retired. And so it's all this like JJ iffies. You know, like we don't really explain, we don't really go there, kind of shit.
Yeah, my thing is kind of about explanations. Is I like very, very powerful implications without all of the boredom of sitting through the explanation. It's like I don't really care that they fucked up the city in Batman versus Superman, and I don't need to hear about it anymore, right? Because I don't care. It just don't give a shit. And
I really care about what happened to Robin. Is he Batman or not Batman? Do people remember him? Like, did the government, like, what the hell is going? I don't understand the premise.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand the world in which they're in. Oh, so Gotham City's like on the other side of Metropolis, just right across the bay. Like, it's not a bad idea. It's just weird in that nobody knows who the Batman is, but then they all know who the Batman is. It's fucking just odd setup.
It's an idea, but I don't know, and it's an interesting idea, but I don't know if it's worthy of making it into the movie. But yeah, all of those movies I haven't liked. I'm not telling people that they shouldn't like them or they should like them. I don't care, Anybody wants to get mad about it, I really still don't care. But it would really, I don't know if it's going to be just like Michael Keaton is in one of those movies as an old Batman, and it's not really the one that I remember. But but at the same time, I guess it's a Flash movie, right? It's a Flash movie that he's coming into that in first.
A few Batmans are coming into that Flash movie.
Yeah.
I know, it's like, look, it's Detective Comics because it should be called BC because it's Batman Comics, right? I understand where Detective Comics comes from, but even in a Flash movie, they're going to put Batman, and I'll tell you why, because the Shazam movie came out and didn't really go anywhere. And Wonder Woman was great, the first one, but I don't think the second would have done the numbers beyond the initial weekend, given how that film played out.
Yeah, I see that. Like the first Wonder Woman was the first of the DC movies I saw where I thought it was effective. I thought, like, this is a movie. I feel like I'm watching a complete movie, and I enjoy it for what it is. I own it, 4K. Don't really like it that much though, and
I like it.
yeah,
I have to disagree on that one.
Yeah, I don't feel in the need to watch it again, but I will. I own it. But the Wonder Woman 84 though, I honestly haven't finished it because it was such a fucking mess. I just didn't even want to deal with it. It gave me a headache. I was like, I'm done. I'm out.
The problem with rewatching the DC films, and again, does tie into Star Wars, is that if you don't feel like those characters are going anywhere post those films now, you're like, why bother? And that might be just the Marvel effect, right? Of knowing that, these characters will continue in the in the coming years, right? So I can get invested. I mean, it's in the same way that a good book series, like, people have a problem with her now, obviously, for problematic views on shit with Harry Potter, but I mean, that was quite a big run every time a book came out, and everyone racing. I mean, when I met my wife, it was her thing. Like, she had to go to the book releases. I'd never been to a book release before until then, and I was like, all right, I'll go. This is stupid. But then I'm like, this is just like what we do. Waiting for, meanwhile, I'm waiting outside for a fucking Wii and a PS4, and a PS2, PS3, whatever, or worse yet, I'm waiting outside for the release of Grand Theft Auto 5. It's really, really bad when you stand outside for a video game that's going to be readily available,
I get it though. On that one, I get it. One's, yeah.
But yeah, if you don't think that Wonder Woman character is going anywhere, then it's tough to go back and get invested in it,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I go for all of the successes and failures of the last Star Wars movies. I'm still happy it's not doing for me, or how little it's that the DC movies do for me. I'm glad that I find them to be more effective, because I think that what I'm trying to say is, geez, guys, it could be a hell of a lot worse. And then people look at Marvel and go, well, it could be a hell of a lot better too. I'd see that point. And
but at the same time, like, then go make something. Like, quite frankly, to get anything at what their level, that's super tough, man. I think I like Hamill's acting in The Last Jedi. He didn't do anything in The Force Awakens, really. But look, I can't take his acting in that Rise of Skywalker, man. That look of that grin on his face when he's rising the X-Wing.
Like, oh shit, yeah, it's me, Mark Hamill. I'm doing it. Remember this?
I almost expected him to do the cock knocker thing at that point. Like, I didn't get that at all. I don't understand where that expression on his face comes from, or I don't know, man.
It's coming from JJ saying, the point of this sequence is to delight the audience, Mark. Delight them, Mark. Fucking hell, Mark, delight them. And he's like,
like Turkish delight, or like international delight.
Yeah, afternoon delight. You want to go in the trailer, JJ?
Speaking of anger, man, nice little acapella moment.
But yeah. So, all right, we must not forget about Indiana Jones. Where you at, Indiana Jones? Show on the stream. All right. So wait, AJ, you're a superstar, but I'm taking you off. All right. So Mangold, or Man's Gold, as my In Living Color Men on Film friend likes to call him.
Man's Golds.
Man's Golds. Mangold on Twitter was asked about an Indiana Jones title. Is there one? Whatever. And he says, no, we have intentionally not decided. That way, I don't have to worry about it getting out. And it's like, the old logic used to be you didn't want your title to leak, according to Lucasfilm, because then bootleggers started making fake materials like Revenge of the Jedi shirts. Like that's what they used to say.
Blue Harvest.
Yeah. In this day and age, though, I mean, it's like, it's sort of I get he doesn't want it to leak. So there you go. That's a good plan. But who gives a shit? I mean, like, we used to know Indiana Jones titles throughout the majority of the filming, throughout a lot of the times anyways. And it's like, so what? Like, does it matter? I mean,
yeah, imagine if Raiders of the Lost Ark had been like titled 1930s James Bond or some shit for like the majority of production. You know what I mean? It would have been weird.
Well, yeah, and once again, not picking on Mangold. He doesn't want the title out, so that's why they're doing it. It makes sense. It's a good plan. Don't have one, it can't leak. But I wonder why is it that they think like they're gonna like release the title and everybody's gonna go, oh my god, fuck yeah, Indiana Jones and the thing of the thing. Oh fuck yeah, dude. No,
can we get that shirt? The Indiana and the thing of the thing. We need that shirt.
You know what's gonna happen is it's gonna probably be a fine title, and it's gonna be fucking hated because you can't do anything new for something that exists without it getting hated. And so I guess it's about a splash, but I don't know. I'm a little bit like, just give us the fucking title. Who cares? But that's me.
Sorry. Indiana Jones and the Nazi spaceship,
Dude, I think Mangold's gonna kick my ass now. He's gonna find me. He's gonna fuck me up.
You live close. He'll find you before he finds me. Like,
yeah, no, Mangold's just gonna
buried up here in the mountains.
Mangold's gonna start kicking my ass on his way to work, probably when he's back here. So, Indiana Jones 5 News tweeted this out. Darren Bailey is listed as Indy 5's Marine Advisor. Could there be an underwater scene? Well, remember I talked about the underwater set at Pinewood?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the answer is yeah, because I believe there's an underwater scene. I am always a little bit like when it comes to like when they use the water tank and stuff like that at Pinewood, though, I am always a little bit hesitant to assume what it means every time, because it's sometimes they use that stuff in creative ways, and sometimes it might just be people on boats and stuff like that.
Sometimes I just make Ahmed and Ewan swim. Just because I can. Everything else is CGI, but not that.
Steven said the shark still looks fake. Well, he looks fake.
Yeah, swim in robes.
And then here we have our, I assume, villain in his Indy makeup, getting it done, looking very dapper. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, Jenna Erso's my daughter, and I'm Indiana Jones's adversary, probably. Charlton Heston, right? Yeah, so Charlton. Yeah,
I am dirty mutts.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't necessarily look like he looks like if this guy's a German scientist, though. This German scientist fucks. I'm just gonna.
What did you do with my theme song, Wads? The Germans, we make rocket ships and theme songs, and you've ruined everything.
Sorry, you kraut motherfucker. I apologize.
Just give us all your change in your pockets, and we'll go.
Yeah. All you band of brothers stick together, don't you? Like, oh, sorry, dude. But yeah, it's weird because it's really truly not exciting, but from Indiana Jones perspective, like I'm like, ooh, it's like a very Walter Donovan thing going on, and I'm into it. I'm excited. But I
don't know that reference.
Walter Donovan is the bad guy in the Last Crusade who Indy meets in the General Veers.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like he just I don't know. I'm getting
I never remember his name.
Yeah, I'm getting that caliber of I don't know, bad guyness from him, but
Well, it's a makeup test. Is the German girlfriend Ilsa?
yeah, yeah.
See, how do I remember that? Because she's
I
hot.
think is her name? Wait, is her name Elsa Allison Duty? Is that the actor?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, bro, I'm horrible with names.
Oh, I know. What you're not
Yeah, you
helping at
know.
all. No.
I tried to. I warned you from day one. Don't get me on the names.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm the same. If they ever allow us both to operate this stupid machine at the same time, my name recall will fucking double. But when I'm like trying to like go like clicking buttons and queuing shit up, I lose name recall right away. It's like that's where it went. So I have some photos here from a Twitter account called Capturing Soho London. And then he's this guy I guess captures Soho London, finds that they are filming Indiana Jones in London. And I had known that they were doing that, but I didn't know that they were still doing it. That's what was kind of surprising to me. And that stuff about Pinewood that we talked about a few weeks ago or a week ago, maybe, I'm not sure, that there was people were furloughed. They were told to stay home because it was safer. But I guess the Indiana Jones production decided not to stop production outright and to continue on with their location filming. So I am still hopeful. I hope that's what would happen. And I am still hopeful that
This is a set they built, or that pre-existing buildings they've built around.
see, you could see some buildings back there, and in my opinion, this is mostly nothing right here, and everything back there is being used to probably pretend to be a New York street, a New York 1969 street is my guess, because you can see like the giant lights and everything back there. But let me see and then okay, here's like the photo. So, and the person says that they can't really see anything because you can see the green screen through the bus,
right,
which is meant for the set extension. So
before I forget, do you prefer real life location Gotham City or Gotham City all on set?
Oh, Gotham City on a stage for sure.
Really? Even with the vehicles?
Yeah, I mean, like the drawn Batman 89, like with the animation that we're talking about, and it having that vibe to it. Like, see, I like it in the first two Batman films. Like, I think, regardless of what you think about Batman Returns, Batman Returns is a beautiful looking movie. Like those sets and the snow, that is I think just awesome. And I think I heard Anne Rice one time, the author of Interview with the Vampire, call it a beautiful movie and said it reminded her of some kind of Russian style film, some old style Russian film. And I was like, I want to see some of those. I never got around to it. But
the giant hammers and the brutalist statues and the faceted design to everything. It just doesn't work with vehicles. Like when you start to move like a motorbike sequence through a set, they have to speed up the cars, or it just looks weird.
Sure. Yeah. What I mean, I like when they have like also like cars kind of out of time. You know what I mean? Like, is that a 1950s car or what is that?
Yeah, I'm with you, especially with that sort of thing where you can't pinpoint the era. Like, in the Batman animated series where they had black and white TVs, but it's got computers and stuff. Like, I like that.
Yeah. Me too. It's like, it doesn't make sense and it don't need it to. Yeah. So
look at that.
So you could see like 1960s, probably New York people back here, or those are probably mannequins actually. Yeah, so you could tell they're doing
There's some
stuff.
Jordache jeans on the left.
That's another photo. That's the same photo. This is a picture that was in the paper for a paper from the Indiana Jones set. Oust Cuban spy for Nixon plot. Con Ed has 14% rate boost. But yeah, Just thought it was interesting. I as a kid, when I would go to the Back to the Future 2, I don't remember what they call it, show at Universal Studios, they would have like the newspaper clippings and stuff from the show, like from the movie, like on the set, on the stage. I always wanted to get up there and read them. Like, you know, I was able to read a lot of it after that USA Today 2015 paper came out. A friend sent it to me, and so I was able to get one. But this is the kind of stuff that you might see in the background, and well, there you go. You could kind of see it. Can't read it in here though. So this I thought was cool. This was somebody who had a very awesome experience on Instagram. What are the chances? Earlier, I'd taken a few shots of the gatekeepers for the movie set at the end of our street, and I left the camera on the windowsill. I happened to wake at 4 o'clock a.m. and took a peep out the window. Boom.
Hey. And his arm works.
So my arm, no, his arms are actually stuck like that now. They're just like they like removed his arms and they just put like 2 pegs in there and put 2 mannequin arms on.
Those are called Kimballs.
Yeah, he's like a giant. He's like a Ken Barbie doll version of Harrison Ford now. But yeah, there he is in his Indiana Jones suit and his
Indiana Jones in the Kung Fu grip.
And then Indiana Jones 5 News posted this photo from the Instagram Jekko Look. And so they use it right here. And it's this is because they're filming in Italy. The Italian filming that we talked about, it is commencing. It's a thing. So that's good to know. And but yeah, I don't know what Cinzano is. But it's I have no idea what that is. But it sounds like it. I'm gonna imagine it's delicious ice cream. Spumoni or something. I don't know what you call that shit. But yeah, so that was the Indiana Jones stuff. I'm trying to think. I had something else. Yeah, not today. Anyways, Allison's dropping some yeah. Joel got us with Allison Duty was the actress and Elsa Schneider is her name in the movie. Correct. That is right. Man, you know, it's kind of weird. As a kid, she was my favorite Indiana Jones girl because she was the hottest one. I was just like, she's hot. I don't care. She's Nazi. Well, she dies anyway. She gets what she has coming to her. But and she's weird too. She'll fuck you and your dad. No, that's weird. But she
I think within weeks. If you do
we don't even know. It could have been days.
We're not George really is sure. Like, you don't want to know how Steven and I met. You don't want to know.
Oh, that part is like, what are you guys doing? That one was a weird one. But some of the exchanges that they have, I never noticed how awful they are in Last Crusade. Last Crusade's still my favorite one, but when he's like, "Do you permit me?" and she like those lines that, oh god, it's fucking cringy. And it never was cringy to me until very recently. But I saw it, I was like, oh, this is really, really kind of bad. Some of these exchanges, but yeah.
What's weird is he falls for her as if another woman has never really been attracted to him. Yeah. You know, like a guy who, like, I'm not saying like, he's not sleeping with the students, but he's getting fawned over by quite a few women.
It's some of the script was.
I'd say on a daily basis. Well, there you go. I just don't think a guy who gets that much attention is that gonna fall that much for one woman, unless there's some, you know, like a Marion, where there's some historical context to that relationship on some level.
Yeah, that is like, or like with Willie Scott, she's like pissing him off in a way that like the comedic sexual tension becomes like a this bitch kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very moonlighting that example. She's not buying into his bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, she's got her own thing. She doesn't fucking need his ass, other than to survive. But even then, she's like, well, I guess I could die. Like, you get the sense that there are moments where she's like, I'd prefer death over working with this fucking guy. You know, which some people don't like in a movie with their leading hero, but I do appreciate. That I mean, look, she screams Indy a million fucking times, so
Yeah.
that gets grating. But I'll take a Willie Scott over the German chick.
Yeah.
She's not a Nazi.
Oh, Mr. Lopez says it's a drink. Oh, thank you, dude. Look at you dropping this knowledge. And it's
Thought he was Obi-Wan.
he says
Go
I
for a
like a
drink.
mix of set and real. Oh no, that was Allison. I hit the wrong button. But yeah, anyways, okay, here it is. It's like Fernet or Campari, not exactly, but close. So yeah, I don't know, but I'll let you buy me one. Anyways, Allison's like, yeah, Nazis are bad. Yeah, I
Okay,
agree.
okay, okay.
I'm good.
Nazis are bad. Okay, okay.
We're not trying to pick on you, Allison, I swear. Allison Duty. Um, anyways, yeah, I watched when I watched Indiana Jones 3 or Last Crusade in 4K. That's when it started to like, for whatever reason, it was much more cinematic to me, and I was involved. I was immersed in at a different level that allowed me to be more critical of things that were fed to me as a 9-year-old that I accepted and were past the gates of getting, you know what I mean? And because I consistently watch the movies over the years, I never go like 5 years without watching it. Like I'm watching them at least once a year, if not several times a year. So some of that shit, it gets a pass. And it's not until you have like a reason to like see it in a much different context that it gets through. At least for me, anyways. But I mean, I've seen them all theatrically. Like a few years ago, they did all 4 of them theatrical, like in one day, like one sitting kind of thing, and I went to it, and it was a pretty good time. I expected everybody to get up and leave for 4, and nobody did, which I was very pleased about.
The opening to Last Crusade is great, though. Like,
yeah,
just even the canyon shots, and you know, the boots on the ground with the slow pace of it, right? And then it picks up like that. I mean, it's the same kind of slower pace that Raiders had in the beginning, but for a completely different reason. So
yeah, there's a couple of things in Last Crusade based off of the beginning that I really do like. Is in that opening, you have River Phoenix pretending to be Harrison Ford. But when Harrison is doing his work with Sean Connery, he pretends to be River Phoenix pretending to be Harrison Ford. Have you seen that? Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah. When he's talking to his father, he goes, "Yes, sir," and he goes and he falls back into, you know, the River Phoenix performance.
The way he uses his eyes and stuff like that, the way they
body language, the looking down, and yeah.
It's
very subtle, but it's very good.
Yeah, it's like one of those kind of character things that brings a consistency between 2 different actors and 2 different eras of the same character. And that always worked really, really, really well for me. On a side note, one of my favorite Indiana Jones like side memories is when Last Crusade was coming out, because that was the one where I was old enough to be excited for it. I had watched the first 2 a bunch of times. I'm like, a new Indiana Jones movie's coming out. I'm in the Lucasfilm fan club. They're fucking pumping me up. But I went to the store and they had posters, and the posters were very expensive for whatever reason. They were theatrical size posters of Batman 89, Karate Kid 3, Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, I think eventually in this line. And but on the bottom of this poster rack where all these movies posters were, there were puzzles, and people fucking hate puzzles. So you could buy the puzzle and put the puzzle together and glue it together, and then you would have like a 17 by 40 or whatever the hell the size is, 27 by 40 theatrical size poster. So that was on the Jason budget as a 9-year-old. And so I remember just doing that fucking 1,000-piece Last Crusade puzzle to get the poster. It was a good time though. I had a great time, man. It was fun.
Did you glue it together?
Yeah, I did.
How do you do that? Like, do you just put the glue on top and it like sets like a?
Yeah, there's like real smart ways of doing it. 9-year-old me had a frame and it had a cardboard backing. And what I did was I did the actual outline of the whole poster. And so I did that first. And after I did that, I put a little piece of of super glue, little droplets on it, and stuck it on. And then I had like the frame, and then after that, I would do a little section, then I would put some glue, and then I would lift it up and put it back on. And I did a pretty good job. But then I didn't get every piece though in doing it this way. I wasn't like taking the glue, put it on and putting it in. And so 5 years later or something like that, all of a sudden I'm just like in my room. It's like hot one day, it gets warm, and just a one piece goes out into the frame and straight down. And then now I have this piece missing in it. And I was like, yeah, but it was a good time though. I also did, I did all the posters too, by the way. I did Karate Kid Part 3. I didn't give a fuck. Karate Kid Part 3. I still say it's a trilogy. Karate Kid 4. I don't know what that was. Next Karate Kid.
It's a trilogy, but the third one is closer to the cinematic equivalent of Cobra Kai than
I love Cobra Kai.
I do too.
Yeah.
I like the cinematography in the first few episodes of the first season, but then it quickly goes to Power Rangers level cinematography after that.
Yeah.
You know, not the good Megazord shit on films shot in the 70s, the cheap chintzy video shit. And that is one series that when it went to Netflix, I was like, are they going to open up the cinematography? They're in fucking LA. Like those scenes when Johnny's like at the beach with this kid, or, you know, when he was first go to that you know, the shitty coin op laundry place, or where he had the dojo. In the first couple episodes, it was like a real, like it felt almost like Nightcrawler, right? That kind of like cinematography. And now it's like, oh, we're just at Saved by the Bell. Like I wish it would go back to some better cinematography, because that Karate Kid 3 cinematography it's not doing it for me. The cinematography of the first two films is really good. I mean, the Okinawa stuff in the second film is like highly underrated, you know? Like you should go back and look at that film if people gloss over that one.
I want that one thing, you know, that they like spin with their that thing that they like spin. I like need that. Like when like you and Jesse are just like get into it about something, I'll start doing that.
I used to take my friend's Ghostbusters PKE meter and go, "This conjures the ghosts," and he was like, "Stop it!" Like,
did you ever notice in They Live, that is in They Live. They like reuse they like reused the Ghostbusters prop in one scene.
And They Live?
It's Egon's thing, yeah.
The PKE meter?
Yeah,
I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah. But yeah, because it's from that era of Hollywood where you just reuse shit and nobody's gonna notice until they started realizing, oh, we're making franchises now, and people do later, very quickly after. But yeah. Karate Kid 1 and 2 though, super good. Hold up really well. They kind of went through a thing where they were super corny and felt very dated, but now you look back on them and you're like, those are really good. And 3 never felt right. It had like, I like the story of it, but it never felt like on.
Like I can't be with you. You got a boyfriend. I'm not looking for a girl. It's just a fucking weird movie.
Yeah.
You know?
But I was excited at the end of the last season of Cobra Kai when they were like, what's his name's back? Terry or whatever his name is. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Oh, like time heals all wounds, man. Like again, if they were bringing George Clooney back as a Batman cameo in the Flash movie, I would get genuinely excited to see it. Like,
yeah,
isn't that how weird? If I had to go back and explain in 1997, Rob, that I would be excited for that, he'd push, you know? Like Ren and Stimpy. What is wrong with you? You're stupid.
Yeah,
yeah. Like no, man. Like it's all good, dude. Like I don't want them to make another stupid movie, but I never fault the actors for a project going wrong. In some ways, I rarely fault the director, and let's say UV Bull, you know, who intentionally is just making a movie to get a tax credit, has no intention of doing anything cinematically.
What movie did he do that on?
Every one of them. They're all part of these. That's why he doesn't make movies anymore, because they were.
He's like, oh man, these taxes. I'm going to go to film school and get a career just to deal with these taxes.
No, I think he was working with the Russian mob, because there was like and I'm not even shitting you, dude, because there was like this weird loophole in the German tax system for those films, and that's why they all got done over there. And then when that went away, he stopped making movies. So,
yeah, I mean, you do have, you know, movies that are made just to burn cash. Like I talked about it before, maybe my high school teacher who used to write for Rolling Stone. He got a job running a porno magazine. in the late 70s because the guy who owned the porno magazine also owned a chain of head shops in Southern California and was making so much money. They were getting shut down all the time, but he's making so much money. He needed to have a loss. So the guy's like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot a bunch of porn with girls that I want to, do stuff to. And he's like, but you can't do, he tells my teacher, he's like, you can't do a smut magazine without something that makes it not a smut magazine. So he gives my teacher, $50,000, $60,000 a year. And he's like, go travel around and just do travel stories. So that's what he did. That's what made it legitimate. That's how you could have a nudie girl magazine in the 70s, I guess. That's what it took. But that's why that all happened, was because of some kind of tax hole kind of thing. And maybe his boss was that guy. Maybe it's the same guy, Mr. Bull.
UV Bull. Yeah, he's gonna box us.
But yeah, he's all, yeah, no, I wouldn't be excited about Pat Clooney. Yeah, actually, last night I sent Rob a picture or one of those deep fake videos of me as the dude, and I was like, I kind of fit on his head. My face kind of fits on his head a little bit.
You have a very Bridges mouth. You guys have a similar mouth structure.
Yeah,
I think 100%. Like now I never saw it before then. Now I see it. I'm like, 100%.
Yeah. I was like kind of loud. I was like, man, I'm on. Why did God take my hair? Why'd you take my hair, God? Could have been the dude. Yeah.
You can have your hair back, but you're dumb.
Cool. Because I'm already dumb. So fucking, I went on that trade. No.
Dumber though. Like dumb.
Dumb. Yeah. There was did we talk about the Cassian thing on the show already? Or was that before the show? We kind of
weeks ago.
Yeah, weeks ago. The Cassian stuff was going around. Like I said, Blue Bespin Bulletin was reported that it was finished. I had heard it was finished, and this was around the time that Kenobi finished. And for whatever reason, I guess, oh no, it's not for whatever reason. It's because Diego Luna is actually talking about it. I don't have my phone. Phone was dying. I had to put it on the charger. But basically he says like, yeah, we like wrapped and there's a bunch of surprises, and meaning that we're going to see like cameos. And we know a lot of what those cameos are. I mean, fucking almost 2 years ago, I want to say now, we had casting calls for children that were Cassian and probably his sister, coupled with Kenobi casting that was probably young Luke and Leia. So they had like those 4 kid casting calls at the same time. And then there's been a lot of I think Star Wars Meg, I want to say, is the one who was reporting that Taco Donna is in Book of Boba. And that lines up. I think Chatooine might have put that out there, and she may have corroborated something like that. Sorry if I'm getting it wrong, guys. But we do have, like I said, we do have the Slave One at Maz's castle in the Battlefront game, which is a very just peculiar thing to throw in there. They could have thrown it on Taco. They could have thrown it on Camino, places that it could actually belong, and they threw it in there. I think because it was always maybe part of the plan if this pans out. But the stuff I keep seeing and hearing about Cassian sets, man, look just like Maz's castle on the inside. The bricks are not that different. And maybe it's in both, which sounds crazy, but maybe we're going to see Maz's castle showing up in both
if they
of these.
bring back that character, they'd be smart to, just because it gets really, again, if you don't use these characters, then I don't fucking care. That's one of the things that the Mission Impossible films have done a really great job of doing, is bringing back characters and utilizing even their newer characters. And like Jeremy Renner's character had a pretty prominent role in one of those films, and then he goes away, but then comes back halfway through another film, and it works. Like, and they brought in his wife from that Mission Impossible 3 in the last film, and you're like he rewards the people who spend some time. Like, you could see I mean, instead of them inventing a new character,
Yeah.
utilize some of the shit you already got. And I get some people go, it makes the universe smaller. I'm like, shut up. Like, universe smaller. How many EU books did we read? All the comics, all the books, all the stupid characters. And half the time you're like, they could have reused a character where they invented a new character who was just like a previous one.
My take to that is like, oh my God. Like if I was reading history, the Beatles, really? John Lennon and Paul McCartney in the same fucking band, and Ringo's the drummer, and George Harrison plays guitar. Really? Oh, the Bible? Oh, really? It's all in the same. Really? It's in the same two books.
or Shadows of the Empire when they added Dash Rendar. Why couldn't it just been Lando and Chewie?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's how the last movie. If that's where Empire took off, show the adventure they went on to get their fucking friend back.
Yeah.
Versus this wannabe Han Solo character.
And they did that for the most part in a lot of the Marvel comics, and it was in the original Marvel comics, and I think the story was generally handled better than that element of Shadows of the Empire.
Because there's a personal attachment to finding Han, which is the whole point of Shadows was just to get fucking Han's fucking body back, right before he ends up at Jabba's palace or lost to wherever. And it's like then they invent I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I'm like, why can't it just be Lando? Other than you don't want a black dude as I don't want to think that at the time, but then I have to wonder. I'm like, why not? Like he has the likeness. There was no damn reason for. I'm sure Billy D. Williams would have been hella cool with doing voiceover work for a video game.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Probably would have. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, like I don't like that idea that it makes the universe small. The place where I have a run into the issue with that is when characters should have problems with things and then don't, because then you can't tell the story that you want to tell. Like comic books kind of run into that a lot. Like where if you're like you are the ultra comic book nerd, you're like, shouldn't Vicky Vale really be mad at Bruce Wayne still because of what happened and Batman Annual 12? But you end up in that kind of realm. But
or those so-called geniuses that I call them the bazingas, the people who think they're smarter than they really are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, hey man, why didn't Doctor Strange step in during this thing and it fucking da-na-na-na-na? And I'm like, because the story would have fucking sucked if some other character comes in and saves everyone at the last fucking second that had nothing to do with the story, nitwit.
Yeah.
Why didn't the army come in at the end of Jaws and just blow the shit out of that ship? They should have sent a National Guard after the Jaws. Yeah, they should have. So they should have sent the National Guard after the Jaws. Because it's not a fucking fun story if you do that.
Yeah.
It's just mean.
Yeah. No, and that's always been my problem with the idea of pulling down a Star Destroyer with the Force is why didn't Obi-Wan Kenobi just pull the fucking Death Star down? Like it was a fucking balloon, you know what I mean? Or whatever,
Right.
tear it apart.
Yoda could have been like,
yeah, I'm going to rip the asshole of the Death Star apart. I am, but
there was this toy I used to have around the same time. It was red and blue, like a almost like a D20 dice, right?
Okay.
And it had two handles and it had different shapes. And you put these yellow shaped blocks, like an X, a circle, square. Yeah. And it had these two handles and used to go like this, right? I used to pretend that was the Death Star, and you try to and it would close down and slam on your fucking finger.
And then you saw Goatsy, and you were like, "I'm not touching that toy ever again."
So that's what it would have been like. He would have ripped apart, and then someone would have trapped their hand in there, and that's how Luke's hand ended up in space.
Yeah,
so it would have been the end of Jedi.
Yeah. I feel like when you end up having prominent people in something in a country or in a city or in a state, they fucking interact. That's the whole thing. Like if you were to go read like the history of Deadwood and get really obsessed with it, it would start and if you just saw it as a universe, you start to think it was kind of absurd that Calamity Jane was talking to to Hickok or whatever. It would start to feel really off. But it's a shitty critique to hold close to your heart, I think.
And it's a story, and in stories you simplify down because if you have too many fucking characters, no one can get attached to anything. And you end up with a writer who will never finish a fucking book because he ended up with too many fucking characters. He can't fucking wrestle around.
Yeah.
You know, like, I wonder what that sounds like.
J.K. Rowling. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts 3.
Yeah.
Still, we got 3 Fantastic Beasts films before a new solo Batman movie. You think about that.
Surprising, actually. Yeah. She's I didn't say this. Allison says, I'll admit Bat Clooney did have an appeal for me for reasons.
Well,
Yeah.
my only complaint with Clooney is he would make a fantastic Bruce Wayne in that he's literally a playboy who could be fucking tough. But he was at that period, forget about the film, right? The writing and the direction, just him as Batman. The problem with him at that point was he still did this every time he fucking talked. The fucking Weeble Wobble head, right?
Bobblehead.
And I couldn't get past it. And it wasn't until I heard Steven Spielberg said some shit. If he could stop that wobbling, he'd be a real fucking actor. You know, he'd be big.
He said that?
Yeah, he said that about Clooney because he saw him on ER. He said if he fucking, I think it was like The Peacemaker or some shit like that. So he worked on that for Ocean's 11. So you don't see him doing it. He doesn't do that in Ocean's 11, but he took it's something he has.
Yeah.
Naturally, he had to stop. And I hate to be like, I wish someone would stop their little, affect, but that was tough, man. This, when you're talking, it's like, I don't know. I've never seen any actor do it before or since. But
yeah.
he does it.
From Dusk Till Dawn made me like him. I wasn't like, I was like, yeah, he's a good looking guy. So what? But I liked him in From Dusk Till Dawn as a kid.
How has he not been in another Tarantino flick since then? Like,
yeah,
that is crazy to me. Like,
I wonder maybe they just didn't really connect, or get along too well beyond I don't know. But yeah, but that was where I was like, okay, this guy could do fun stuff, or he can do cool stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But
at the time I was like, he looks like Nick Fury, because Nick Fury didn't look like Sam Jackson at the time. He looked like George Clooney. He had the same chin. Give him an eye patch. It's Nick Fury.
Don Talk says, I would argue AJ Sov's point, but I'm just out of my element. So yeah, I kind of feel like when it comes to like really giant actors, like I'll like their a movie that they're in, but I don't ever get into them outside of Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is like the one guy I'm like, that guy's great in everything. Harrison Ford's the best. Even that dumb movie with that dumb car with that dumb Ben Affleck kid clone. That movie sucked, but it was
so
but it was still a grumpy ass Harrison Ford. And I was like, yeah, yell at him, Harrison Ford. Yell at him, Harry.
What about modern Harrison? Did you go see the one with him and the CGI dog?
No.
See, not being a real Ford fan.
That was a pandemic movie, wasn't it?
No.
It wasn't like
nice try, buddy.
Okay. No, I'm not claiming to be a Harrison Ford super fan. I could go see all of his movies. I'm saying I will watch all his movies. Like I saw Brad Pitt in Fight Club. I was like, oh, Fight Club, you're pretty good in this. I really wouldn't want anybody else in this role. You were okay as Louis in an Interview with a Vampire, but I don't really like Brad Pitt. I don't give a shit.
A movie he was supposed to be in but turned down. Shawshank Redemption.
Idiot.
He was the rock and roll kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who showed up. And
okay.
He turned it down.
That might have been okay for him to like do. I don't think that would have necessarily elevated him, other than the connection to that film. But yeah.
He turned it down.
Yeah. The rock and roll kid. Did that actor do anything with the rock and roll kid? The greaser? I don't know if I saw him in anything after that. Yeah.
I remember the kid from Unforgiven quit acting after that film.
Really?
It's like, I hate this.
Yeah, the kid from Neverending Story Part 1, I think he was also Daryl, right? He backed out. He hates that. He hates Hollywood. I saw him one time. I think I saw him somewhere. God, I did see him somewhere, and I recognized him, but he had like a big old fucking beard, dude. And it was it was like a hard look, and I'm like, I fucking know you.
Him and the Sixth Sense kid, right?
Yeah, Sixth Sense kid.
Who has a great cameo in What We Do in the Shadows season 2, by the way.
Yeah, I still need to watch that. I have the first season I still need to watch it.
Yeah, they all grew beards. They lost their bee stung lips and grew beards.
That's funny. That's so dumb.
Hey man, I defend Mike, but that's hard one to defend.
Yeah, I was gonna I was thinking about it the other day when I was on Twitter, and I was just seeing the Star Wars community taking things way too seriously and just generally being weird, fucking little psychos like they usually are. And I was like, this Taika movie, I think it's going to be good, but I think they're going to hate it. I don't know.
The Star Wars one?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking Marvel for a second. I'm like,
no. The when Taika
his fucking episode of Mandalorian was the best that season, dude. Like, he nailed the humor, he nailed the action, he nailed the emotion, and he nailed the cinematography, the shots. Like every other Antoine Fuqua. That's who directed. Sorry,
who
directed
Anton Fuqua? I'm not sure
Anton Fuqua. I forget. I get him and the director of the Sandcrawler episode mixed up for some reason in my head.
But go on.
But that director and him that's cinematic Star Wars. And I was telling you off air, I went back and rewatched that Ahsoka episode. I got to give props to Filoni. It feels a little stages. It's a little bit like a play.
Yeah,
like a little bit like a what was that Macbeth movie that Fassbender did a little bit, right? It's a little stagey.
Oh. I thought you were talking about the one with Keanu, where he's like, "Whoa, Shakespeare!"
I love that one, no,
it's good.
I love that, but
it's good. I love Keanu, man. I love you, Keanu.
I love that he's Keanu in that. So there had to be someone during that time who just didn't speak like everyone else.
Whoa, Dracula!
What if there was? What if there really was a Keanu? We go back in time, we get in the DeLorean, we go down there, and sure as shit, there's a like a Spicoli, Raging Waters dude in the middle of fucking whatever. We're digressing, but the cinematography in that Ahsoka episode is fantastic, fantastic.
It is, and the thing about but Taika, to go back to the Taika thing, is like I love his Thor movie. Honestly, I'm not a big Marvel fan either. I'm just talking about what I don't like this episode. Sorry, guys, but it's like I enjoy them. I see them all. I mean, the kids see them. I have a fun time. I'm like, that was a good time. I had fun. Cool. And then I usually don't go back to it. Like I watched Loki one time. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it a lot. Probably won't watch it again anytime soon.
You probably will when the villain reappears.
Maybe, yeah. But I watched Thor Ragnarok like 3 times, which for me is about 300% more than I rewatch most Marvel films. And I loved it. But the thing about his episode of Mandalorian is I think he's being bookended. Or no, he actually makes the last episode. But he's bringing all of the momentum of what came before. He can't start doing side jokes and doing his own thing in the middle of his episode.
He could have though.
Well, he could have, but he's not a dummy. I'm not saying that. But when it comes to his own film, he's going to structure it in a way, I think, to his sensibilities, which I think he said as much. So that's why I'm expecting it.
And there's nothing like Jojo Rabbit. I mean, Jojo Rabbit is like, that's a Mel Brooks level style thing, you know what I mean? In terms of, not saying the humor, but in terms of like only Mel Brooks could have made Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Right. And that time in that period, Mel Brooks, like no one else was doing that. Jojo Rabbit is a very specific film that could not have existed, you know, anywhere outside of, I mean, he's a very unique voice.
For sure.
It's rare that happens, you know?
And Burger Hicks, I thought it was Burger Chicks. Burger Hicks 80 says Taika didn't write the episode though, right? I don't believe he did. I think that was a Favreau joint. And my buddy Star Wars Santa, make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel if you guys haven't yet. Really late to the party. Thanks again for helping me out earlier today. Yeah, I was on Star Wars Santa show today, and it was a good time. I was like hanging out with the Mr. Claus. I don't think he uses the claws, but you know, I'm going there. Anyways, yeah, it was a good time. We had a good discussion today about the whole Cassian thing and what we talked about a little bit on here. So if you want to hear us go into that for a long time with Star Wars Santa, check it out. It's a good time. But also, Star
And
Wars
I hate
Santa.
the unions. Ho, 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 ho.
Yeah, you know he charges them for their water.
You can either get clean or green. You pick, else ho, ho, ho. You snow for everybody.
But yeah, but Santa, I actually today I have come to the realization that Santa is a very peculiar movie person, and I'm fascinated by him now, and I'm probably going to start picking on him about it as time goes on, because he doesn't like, I don't think he's a fan of like the Taika spoofy kind of stuff, that like serious spoof but not really kind of like line that he walks. He's not really a fan of it. He doesn't like horror films, and he hated the Toby episode of Visions because it was so adorable.
It's literally a toy. It's Santa Claus who made a toy Jedi, and Santa hated it.
Santa hated it. He's like, that's not how we make them in the North Pole.
Jealous. I can't make my own Jedis. Sucks.
He's all, I wish I was a Jedi, but I'm not. I'm an immortal Norwegian dude. But, yeah. But anyways, yeah, but I'm like, he likes Star Wars. He doesn't like Poltergeist, and he doesn't like comedy. And I'm like,
wait, Santa was like 40 when Poltergeist came out, right?
No,
30, probably in his 30s.
I'm just guessing that Santa's immortally 45. I don't know. I have no idea.
Let's say Santa was like in his 80s when that came out.
Okay. He imagine he calls it his 15th lifetime is what I think he calls it.
I imagine the movie he was like a thing guy or some shit. Like he was probably at that age where he was like, this is too Spielbergy, not enough horror.
No. I think I made a comment about the thing today. At least I thought it. I don't know if I made the comment, but yeah, he's not about it. He doesn't like anything scary.
Oh,
he doesn't like any horror.
I hate Halloween. Never. They made a movie about Santa and his rival. Nightmare Before Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. Halloween and Santa, it is don't mix.
Yeah. So it's like, but he likes Star Wars, and like that's because we were talking today about if they made a Star Wars horror film, would he like it? Somebody asked him that, and he was like, probably not. And so. Yeah, he says, no, I watched Poltergeist when I was 50. He didn't see it when he was a kid. He saw it just like saw it with, I think he said, do you see with your daughter? Is that what I think he said he watched it with his daughter. And yeah. And then was it the original one or that really bad remake? Why did they make that remake? Did you watch it?
The Poltergeist remake? Fuck no, man. I don't watch remakes of 80 films, dude. Yeah. Like 80s has a very specific tone and feel. The only 80s film I might tolerate a remake of would be Ghostbusters 2. I'm not a big fan of Ghostbusters 2. I just don't remake 80s. But like if they made another 3 Men and a Baby film, you really want to sit through that? Like if they remade The Three Amigos, do you want to sit through that? Like would that be a good fucking time? Like,
no, definitely not. I mean, like Police Academy. No, don't need it remade. That said, I do think like they just dropped the ball though. Like there's nothing inherently 80s about a Poltergeist. There's nothing inherently 80s about RoboCop. You know what I mean? But they didn't make them work. For
the only one that I thought worked fairly well, that was actually a pretty decent movie, was the Fright Night remake. That's about it.
Fright Night was a good. I actually saw that one. Remember yesterday we were talking about test screenings. I went to a test screening of that Fright Night movie. I love the original Fright Night movie. Like I'm a big fan of it.
Amanda Burns.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And yeah, then they recast her in part 2. They're like, I think people are gonna start figuring out that you're not into dudes or something. And then they got a different actor for part 2.
So
yeah, I know.
Better.
Well, there was a big story. I don't know if it was true, but it was in all the papers. Remember when I think her name is it Anne Heche, who was with Ellen.
Yeah.
When that came out, she was making that movie with Harrison Ford. All the newspapers were saying like, "Why'd you have to do that?" Harrison Ford like, "Why'd you do this during the middle of our fucking movie?" That's like was the quote, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm all Ford. I hope that wasn't true, and I hope it doesn't come
David
back around
Schwimmer's
for
in that
you."
movie.
Is he?
Yeah.
Only good thing I've ever seen David Schwimmer in is Band of Brothers, which I already mentioned tonight for some reason. He was good in Band of Brothers. I believe the guy can be a good actor, but God, Friends makes how Santa feels about Toby is how I feel about everything about Friends.
It's how Santa feels about capital gains taxes. Oh no.
True. Oh, Thron's all sequel to Real Genius.
Don't.
Yeah, no, you see that like that's the kind you can't do again because a laser from space activating popcorn is so rad. It could only be done once. That's what I say. Star Wars Santa says, "Yeah, I didn't watch it when it was released in theaters. I was talked into watching it a couple of years ago on a streaming service, the original." Yeah, both like E.T. and Poltergeist are both two movies that I can rewatch.
I sent you the Mr. E.T. figure.
Oh yeah, that was I just woke up. I was like, you know what was weird about it? Was it felt familiar. And I was like, is this just because it's bringing two things from when I was like 3 and 4 years old?
Yeah.
Or did I see this somewhere else in some other way and this is referencing that? But yeah, it's pretty rad. But anyways, I used to like during the very dark times of Star Wars watch Poltergeist and E.T. just to try to find the Star Wars stuff in the background.
The toys.
Yeah, I have this
Right.
like comprehensive thing of like 80s movies probably with Star Wars toys in the background. Like another one is Communion, the alien movie with Christopher Walken. When they're doing the Halloween sequence, there's a kid who's a Gamorrean guard, but it's like way past Gamorrean guard time. It was very weird.
Were there any toys in Flight of the Navigator when Sarah Jessica Parker brings them all those toys? Because I remember there was Transformers.
There was like
Star Wars.
Yeah, there was it was like I think it was mostly like Mattel toys that might have been in that shot. I watched that the other night with my kids after we talked about it because I was like I enjoyed it. I mean the only thing about the movie, I mean, and when I say holds up, I mean the only thing that's like really inexcusable in the movie for me is that robot that he climbs into that's only put there so he can escape from the room that they like lock him into. They're like that robot. It's like
remember that movie Space Camp? Like they had a robot in there too.
Yeah.
Like
that was just like it's like an 80s thing where like, yeah. And Rocky IV.
Rocky had a robot.
Yeah. People were like, oh, robots are just going to be a thing. And you want to know what always made that believable to me? Remember the Radio Shack catalogs and they had that robot that was like R2D2, but it was like a clear dome on the top. I never got that. I asked for it all the time. I really wanted that thing. And I believe
my neighbor had it.
Yeah, I believed it could do cool things. And they made another one that could like they made another one that could get soda cans. It didn't work at all, but it's what they showed it doing. And
that's
so
the one
I thought
had, the soda can one.
Yeah, so in my kid brain, I'm like, that's like a $50 toy. But if I had $20,000, it could probably do it. So like that's why I thought like maybe this makes
money's
sense.
the problem, right? Just if we just spent more money, that's how the government got us in this. You know, the military is like, we just spend more money, man. We'll not have to worry about wars ever again, endless wars.
But I after watching it, I am super excited for what what's her name?
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard, yeah.
If my friend, if they pay attention to all the UAP and the UFO knowledge shit that we've had since that film. Yeah. If it's like when Tron Legacy was announced, I'm like, oh, are they gonna deal with like MMOs or like Tron Universe or some shit? And it's like whoever wrote that hadn't played a video game since the fucking 80s or used a computer since the 80s. It's like the dumbest fucking setup for a virtual world ever, given the world we were in at that time. I just hope that she's, like they know about all this UFO nonsense that
in a perfect world, they literally go and remake that movie, and the kid is from 1978 and he returns in 1985. Like that would be the way to do it, honestly. I mean, that's like, because if they said it now, I don't know what kind of personality. I'm curious as to how they're going to tackle the personality of the ship if they don't make it Paul Rubens and they don't do like a true, because that's one of the things about that movie is it's not really so much that a ship hit a power line, malfunction, lost its navigator, and then needs the kid that it abducted to get back. Like that's not really it so much. It's that ship had personality, you know? And so that's where I'm a little bit like I don't know about it. I don't know if it's going to work if they don't do that.
Although, if they got Wanda Sykes to be the robot, I would love that.
Yeah.
Like I would like someone with a lot of attitude. If they're not going to be like hip hoppity funny, like a Paul Rubens, if they're going to, I just want them to be like sassy and rude.
Yeah, and he is more of, I mean, he starts off
Right.
as kind of an asshole robot. And
you know what he reminded me of in the beginning? He
gets part of the kid's personality downloaded into his system, and that's when he becomes.
The kid didn't act that way. That was weird.
Yeah,
I think that's like in that Shazam movie where it's like the Shazam dude and the kid ain't acting like one another. You know, the other kids doing that movie, when they go into adults, the adults act like the kids.
Yeah,
but the fucking Shazam guy, I can't remember his name, Levi something or other. And that dude don't act like the kid don't act like him. It's fucking weird. But when the Max is the name of the robot, right? Am I right? Max, or is the kid Max?
Max. Yeah, he's Max.
When that robot first talking, I thought it was the fucking same Jabba door palace. You know,
it's very close.
Like, right? Like I was like, man, this fucking rude, mean. They got the same kind of eyeball thing going.
Geek Furious, how's it going, dude? We missed you around these parts. He's all, I'm from the 70s and I just woke up now, so I'm pretty much what I expect 2021 to be like. Yeah.
He's like, I saw that George Miller film, seems legit.
Yeah. One of the things about like Fight of the Navigator, though, that was absolutely effective to me as a kid and terrifying is when he goes back and his parents are old and everything has changed without him. And like, he's like missed it all. Like that is like, and I hope that element is like really like played up. There was this other Disney Channel movie around the time that I saw where this kid goes back in time and he goes into, and I don't think it makes sense, but he goes into like a 1930s McDonald's, which I don't think even existed. And he tries to use his money to buy a hamburger. And he can't, and they start accusing him of trying to pass fake money, and the kid like run and they like are about to beat him up. But it was like those two things, just this terrifying thing of like, you're not home and you can't go home. Same thing with Alice in Wonderland, when she ends up on the other side of the mirror and her mom's on the other side. Oh my god, right. Terrifying.
In the book 11/22/63, when the main character goes back to the 50s, he uses a payphone and he sticks some change in there, and it plops through because the weight of our modern dimes and nickels is not the same as it used to be. But then he looks at it, he's like, shit, it's a 2011, nickel or dime or whatever. And he's like, if this got in there and someone found it, maybe they think it was a joke, but what if they didn't? Like, what if this sparked a whole fucking problem?
Like butterfly effect kind of thing?
Or just because in that book, the past like stops you from doing shit, right? So like, what if that's like, he has to be careful of every little he accidentally brings his cell phone to the past. He's like, just for fun, I wonder if it connects to anything. Like, no, of course it doesn't, because it's fucking, but people are dumb. So
yeah, I do that. I'd probably do that.
It would be interesting if if the character's family, the kids, he or her, whatever they do for the new movie, if they're UFO hunters. Because remember, there was like those stories of those families who would get in their car and chase after UFOs in the 70s or 80s. Like, what if they went after it, like in Close Encounters of the Third Kind? Remember, they're all chasing the UFOs. Yeah. And what if he ended up being picked up by one? You know, and they had to like deal with that. We thought it was
then fun, the parents are going to prison until he comes back. I mean, one of the weird things. Yeah. Well, one of the weird things about that movie though is like when we were talking, you were like, yeah, he falls down. I think he gets hurt when he falls down or something. I think you suggested it.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and they really did not they really that was the plot, and they really did not want you to know.
Right. But he
Like
did. He
it's
got hurt, and it
yeah,
picked him
yeah.
up because
He
he
goes
was
falls
injured.
down. Yeah. And then like they just really kind of don't touch it. They don't want to. They're like a kid getting hurt. It's not something Disney wants to deal with or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, it would
Because
almost be
the bot is nursing other hurt aliens.
yeah.
Those little aliens in the wall they're sick or they got and he's nursing back, and so he was something that was injured, and it picked him up. And then it happened to get fried by lightning or whatever happened, like
Yeah.
scrambled, and then
You know what kind of messed with me about this time watching it though is at the end they make the deal. He's going to time travel for the kid to take the kid back, even though it's so dangerous. And so he does it. But that little cute guy, that little tiny guy that stays with the kid.
the berry,
Yeah,
the berry alien, yeah, the one I
yeah.
put in my Star Wars script. Yeah.
His family, his whole planet is destroyed, and he doesn't have the nerve to tell him. And so he ends up not taking him back in time. But if he could go back in time, he could have saved that whole planet. He could have saved all of those little guys and all of those little things. And he does it because this Henry Thomas looking fool.
It's the paradox of time travel, my friend.
Yeah.
That's why I think like Stephen King, when he did the 11/22/63 book, was smart in that when they're like, well, what about this? There's this character he talks to called Al, who Chris Cooper plays him. And in the audiobook, I think the audiobook came out before the show, but he
Okay.
does the same voice. Like whoever it worked up does the same Chris. So it's Chris Cooper plays Al. Anytime the main character asks him a question about time travel, he goes, I don't know, man. I don't know what. Well, what if we did? He's like, what if you went back? What if I killed my grandfather? He's like, why the fuck would you do that? He's like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, huh. And he's like, well, what if I do this? Well, I don't fucking know what would happen. Like you're not. I don't like. It's smart that it's just a hole that takes you back, and if you come back, you go back in, it resets. It's just smart in that you just don't have to deal with all those other problems of like
Yeah.
alternate timelines and multiverses and shit.
I watched the Hulu movie of it. I liked it.
The book it's one of those things where that's why there's that line in the show where they're like, the book is better. Like the book is better, like
Sure.
in many, many, many ways. But
Yeah.
but the casting was good. The casting in the show is good. It's just they added that character that follows him, goes on him right on the adventure. It's the dude from 1917, and
Okay.
that
I don't
doesn't
remember it that
happen.
well.
That
Oh,
that
okay.
doesn't. That's pointless.
Yeah.
So, but I thought Stephen King's use of time travel was really smart, and it's one of those things where it just gets around the paradoxes by if you just go back in the hole, it resets. So, problem solved.
Yeah, and from like what I remember of that, like if you were to go and try to kill your grandfather, it would probably the time would
It
kick
would
your
stop
ass
you.
before you can do it, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. Yeah, that those are fun time travel rules. But I do think that we're going to see all of the people from Mandalorian end up being not available for Star Wars eventually. So I hope they start to trickle in new people like pretty continually. You know what I mean?
Especially
Because like
with the Andor and the Acolyte shows, like the Cassian and the Acolyte shows, just have the chance to bring in a bunch of new characters that that you have no idea what's coming next.
yeah,
Beyond just ex Republic, resistance fighter, ex Imperial officer nonsense.
mhm.
It's fine. It's just that we've seen all this. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping for some more eccentric aliens.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping that Andor is of all of these series is the one that actually furthers Star Wars. I think it's the biggest opportunity because it's bringing in a whole new genre with a character who's only defined in the sense that he died and that he does what he has to do. Like I've heard a lot of people talking about Cassian saying, "Oh, he's a shrewd like killer who will do anything and stuff like that." And it's like maybe but I think that the opening I think is misunderstood for two reasons. And the first is that in the opening, he meets his informant. The informant is injured and can't climb up the top of the thing to escape. The stormtroopers are coming.
Yeah, his first reaction wasn't just to shoot him and run.
It wasn't. It was like he knows that the guy is mentally breaking down, and he knows that the guy is physically unable to climb out. So he has to make a tough call, and he has to kill him to save countless lives. And his life is already done. That he knows that guy's dead. Nothing's going to save that guy now. He's already.
And he doesn't feel good about it. It's
No.
not like he's like, pat one on the back for old Cassian, chuck it up. He's got little marks on his arm and shit.
Right. and when they ask him to kill Jin's father, he doesn't actually do it. He's not. I don't know if it's that he doesn't get the chance.
I feel like he would have been cooler with that than killing. He kind of knew the other guy. He didn't even know Jin's father.
Yeah, and Jin's father had it coming. He should have killed himself.
Right.
He should have committed suicide instead of doing a Death Star. That's what he should have done. At the end of the day,
he should have been like, "Look, Jin, I like you, but your dad's going to be responsible for billions of fucking deaths. So you know what I mean. If I get a chance to fucking take him out, you better don't take it personal. But I'm."
Yeah, no.
What do you want me to do?
When I imagine I'm Galen Erso, I'm like, I have this little girl, which I do in real life. Would I want there to be a Death Star in my little girl's world? No, I think I'll blow my brains out. And
if I don't pay taxes, maybe it's worth. Maybe I can move to Texas. If Spotify gave you $100 million to murder half the planet, like, would you?
Back in my TV podcasting days, I argued that if you just tackle the subject, even if the answer is shrug, I don't know, it's better than having the audience constantly ask, why didn't you realize it? That is true. And Cassian murdering the dude also quickly tells you this isn't going the way you think. And I agree. And I think that is what they were. I think that's what they were going for. And I think it's actually like pretty obvious, but because it's something that the audience hasn't seen before and it's going the way that they don't think, they just automatically think it means the extreme polar opposite of he goes around just murdering, like he's an assassin rather than a spy.
Look, the movie that dealt with this perfectly is Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
When Sarah Connor goes to kill Miles Dyson.
Yeah.
The only reason why she doesn't is because she sees his family and can't do it up close.
And then Dyson Miles is fucking cool as shit. He's like, okay. Right. He's like, you know what?
But she never gave him a chance to do that. She became the Terminator. And she was cool with, she could do it from a distance. But when she had to get up close and personal, and his wife is holding him and his kids are holding, the humanity and the acting of that, I don't know why she didn't get a fucking Oscar for that. Like her and him, she should have got a nomination. I don't know, man, but it's just, it deals with all of this perfectly. Like, and it doesn't go, well, you can't because they're going to be friends. And I feel like the Cassian move of him saying I wouldn't kill her dad is like a rewrite thing. You know what I mean? Like, well, he needs to be friends with Jin, and if she kills his dad or he's killing him, then they won't be friends kind of thing. And I'm like, she should be like, look, I love my dad, but if he's going to build a fucking Death Star, then this can't fucking happen. Like,
yeah. But fans, I think, also miss the point, I think, of the scene to some extent, in the sense that he's ordered to kill Galen. He's about to do it, but he doesn't. But then the top brass go around to ensure it happens, and they are the ones who order the hit on him. And they're also the ones who order them not to go and on the Rogue One mission, what becomes the Rogue One mission, and he is the one who does it. So he kills the guy who's already fucked. He doesn't kill Jin's dad. The actual rebels do. The Rebel Alliance itself does. Rebel Alliance says don't do it, and then he rebels and is a rebel to the rebels, and then does the right thing and actually allows us to get Luke Skywalker. Blowing up the Death Star. So Cassian's character and his personality is not that of I will shoot you in the back and poison you. It's that, oh, I'm in a tough fucking spot and the stakes are high all the time, and I'll do what I have to do. But inherently he's a good person. You know what I mean? Like his blank slate is that of a good person, not of General Grievous or some shit.
Yeah, well, that's my whole point. Is that I feel like they kind of go the only reason why he isn't willing to pull the trigger is because he knows that's her father and he's friends with her. And I'm like, hey man, at that point, unless it's because he can't do it up close, but he already shot the other guy up close, so that ain't like there has to be a point where he's dehumanized a little bit because there's greater stakes involved.
Yeah.
And he needs to reach his humanity again, which is what Cameron did with the Terminator story and Sarah Connor. She's dehumanized because she knows the greater good needs to be solved because everyone's dead anyway, and that makes her a super dangerous person when she doesn't see people as people anymore. She sees them as just collateral damage. They're all going to be dead. They're walking dead people anyway. Like, and so there's just, that's where the arc is sort of missing there. It's a little bit more surfacey Star Warsy, like, just do the right thing because the right thing. Right together. Like, fine. It's not bad. It's just, it could go a little deeper, right? It could, but
yeah,
I wonder if like Gilroy's one of those guys who wants to go deeper. You know what I mean? And Star Wars brass is like, we don't want to. We want people to come back and rewatch. I don't know, or if it's just everyone equally made the decision and that's just the way it played out.
Yeah, no, I think what happened with the first one, with the first cut of Rogue One,
Gareth Edwards' cut.
Gareth Edwards, version of the movie, is that he gave them what they agreed to make, and then they decided this doesn't feel like Star Wars, and so they started needing all of these elements to like solve it, to make it feel like Star Wars, and and you could tell that there was not necessarily like a fight, but that there was like a, how do we make this work and not just be a Debbie Downer of a film? Like we're talking about the carbonite bomb. They developed one ending to the film where basically they were going to get onto a ship. I don't know if they got on a ship or if he exploded it on the planet itself, but it was basically a carbonite bomb. Yeah, I think they were on the ship.
So
they go up in the ship, and that way no life forms are detected. They're frozen in the ship, and then they're just out there and they're like lost in space, and they're not found again. Who knows when? To be thought out, and brought back to life, if you will. And they didn't do it, but what does it tell us? But what does it tell us? It tells us that they were trying to find a way off the planet, a way to make it work where it was still satisfying. And in truth, they could have gotten to a ship and done what they do in episode 9 and what they do in the Solo. You know what I mean? Take off.
But my response to that is go back and watch Terminator 2, where even though they win, they defeat the bad robot, whatever, the Terminator has to fucking be destroyed. Otherwise, they're going to end up in the same situation. He slowly thumbs ups into the lava. So if Terminator can do it, Star Wars can do it, because that film it's a PG-13 film. You know what I mean? Like, it's got some blood, but for the most part, ain't nothing happen in Terminator 2 that can't happen in a Star Wars film at this point. So
yeah. And then Thrawn says, what if they did Cassian like 24? And like, I never saw 24, so I don't know. But in terms of like it's a spy thriller, and so I imagine it's going to be turned on its head a few times. A friend who worked on it and I were talking, and I was asking things, and they're like, I won't tell you everything. I'm like, but I don't want to know everything. And they're like, and I was like, what? Let's ask about something specific. They're like, if I tell you that, you're just gonna start like a piece of yarn and you're gonna take the whole sweater. And I was like, okay. But so it's that kind of story. So if you do follow spoilers, or if you don't follow spoilers, don't dip your foot into Cassian spoilers if they start hitting, because it sounds like it's going to be something you're going to eventually, it's going to all kind of start to make sense about who's what and why. When Gilroy Geek Fairy says, when Gilroy came in, he was like, are you fucking kidding me? And started penciling out all the narrative thread problems. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is for sure. I think you're serious, but I think even if you're not, I think you are. But if you're not, I think you're completely right, because I think that's what ended up happening.
He's never talked about it, right?
Very little. He said it was a kind of it was fucking mess, is what he kind of said to the whole. I think he said to Hollywood Reporter, and from what I heard about Gareth Edwards was that he was there was just like he was the guy who had to cook, but there were too many cooks trying to tell the chef how to cook that he couldn't get rid of, that couldn't get out of the kitchen. And so I really felt bad for too many cooks. Too many cooks spoils the broth. But no, it's so they eventually decided, I think we need one, and for whatever reason wouldn't let it be Gareth. And you know,
isn't it
Gareth,
weird that
he's
he's
done
making
anything.
his own? He's making his own Star Warsy show on Netflix.
Is he doing it? Good.
Same, just like Snyder's doing at Rebel Moon. He's got his own Star Warsy thing he's doing. So I think Garrett's got a fantastic. He's got a fantastic eye. Like people talk about Zack Snyder paints, painterly pictures, but Gareth Edwards, I think, has a fantastic compositional talent, skill.
Yeah.
And so it's just maybe he doesn't want to deal with ever going through that again, right? But like, I really wish he could find a home, like if he was coming on the Cassian show, or if he did an episode of the Mando or something, because his way of shooting things is so unique. And some of those shots that were in that trailer that aren't in the final film are really cinematic shots.
Yeah. And he was cool too, by the way. He sent me or he gave a poster and wrote me a nice message on it and gave it to a mutual friend of ours to give to me. So it was like, you never know if people are gonna hate you because you talked about their secrets. Their secret. It's like I think
Gold's like, I'm putting a hit out on Wards.
Well, no,
I'm gonna Uber Eats my dirty diapers to his fucking house.
JJ had the best attitude though ever. I think he said, like, anybody who is interested enough to want to write about or read a spoiler of something I'm making, that means a lot to me, or something like that. Something to that effect. And it's like, that is the fucking truth. Like, you know what I mean? Somebody actually caring about what you do is very rare, but the whole secrecy thing, all of that stuff is so fucking like, who's the guy who wrote it? The British guy from the video game magazine stuff. Oh, what was his name?
The British guy from the video game.
The first writer. He writes on Rebels and stuff. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Yeah, he had a real cunty attitude about me. Like, somebody thought Pablo Hidalgo's wife was my wife, which is a super weird mistake to make. And you know what I mean? It's like, what? How would you get that confused? But anyways, and then he's like, yeah, he'd be putting all your secrets out there for everybody to. I was just like, man, get a grip, Rogue One writer, British guy who writes for Rebels too.
You don't even remember his name. That's how important.
Fuck him. That's where I'm at with it now. Gary Whitta. Yeah. Gary Whitta. Gary Whitta, are you cool? Or was I just reading that like you were being a bitch? You kind of sound like a bitch that day, but I like Rogue One. So, and he's doing Last Starfighter. And I'm rooting for you, even though you're kind of a bitch that day on Twitter. But I'm rooting for you.
Everyone gets I was telling my buddy had mentioned he enjoyed the show yesterday, and he was like, Kevin Smith, and I'm like, yeah, fucking big fan. And he's like, I heard he's kind of a dick. And I'm like, well, some friends of mine, because he's in Hollywood, right? He's like, some of my friends say that. I'm like, yeah, I'm certain. And he worked with me before. I'm like, I'm certain some people who've worked with me also think Rob was an asshole, probably because I didn't much like fucking them either.
Yeah. Like,
all I know is every time I've met Kevin Smith in the real world, dude's never been a fucking dick. And we're going back to 1995, like, I'm certain he's a dick to some people. Who can be fucking, even Stan Lee,
Yeah, no,
hated some folks.
Yeah, everybody has bad days. I've met Warwick Davis like a lot of times, and a couple of times, if it was the only interaction I ever had with him, I would have thought he was a jerk. But it's just not. No, people get tired. People get worn out after a day of being approached and stuff like that. Sometimes they are, testy. But yeah, I hate that, because I'm always afraid like somebody's gonna. Because when I go to like certain places, I don't get recognized anywhere. But when I go to like Disneyland in certain times or certain conventions or something like that, I'll get recognized, and I'm always afraid somebody's going to think like, that guy's an asshole. That guy's such a dick because he didn't, want to hear about my theory about Dash Rendar or something. And it's like, so
Dash Rendar theories.
Dude, you don't.
Hey, I've got a few.
Oh,
I've
just
got
wait.
some notes. Jet gave me extensive.
This way,
details.
I'm gonna trick you into going to a Star Wars celebration one of these days or something like that, and they're gonna give them to you. Oh, guess what time it is? It's
That's what
the
I was
end of
gonna
the show.
say. Like, what if one day we meet and I'm like, who are you?
Like, what?
I don't recognize you.
Girl, what?
I don't
I thought
really
you were
look
just
at
a
the
head
awards.
in a fucking box
I just
behind
look
a
at a
blue
picture of
screen.
me when we talk. So I don't look at it.
Girl, that's why
Look
I'm
at it
here
for
every
me.
day. I love me.
Like those people who get on Price is Right and look at the monitor when they're on the. Right? You ever see the
Yeah.
Vanna White? I know you gotta go, but Vanna White was on Price is Right before she was on Wheel of Fortune as a contestant.
Oh, really?
And amazing. She looks great.
Yeah.
And Bob cannot stop talking to her.
Oh, fuck yeah, Bob
But she
can't.
keeps looking at the monitor herself, and he goes, "You just love looking at yourself on the TV, don't you?"
Yeah.
Mike, give it a few years, Bob.
And now I feel bad about talking about Gary Whitta. We'll see. Maybe Gary Whitta's cool. I don't know. But anyways, we'll see everyone tomorrow, 1 p.m. Jesse, if you're free, hit us up. Love to have you on, hanging out with us. We missed you today. And we'll see everybody tomorrow. Bye.
It's not about spaceships.
Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars